Welcome to the Own Your Life podcast, where our goal is to help bring hope, healing, and peace by sharing our experiences and inspiring you to own your life. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Own Your Life podcast. Today we have episode 31 where we're going to be talking all about peace. And again, this is going with our hope, healing, and peace, which is part of our mission as Own Your Life Co. to bring to all of you, by inspiring you to own your lives, and take charge of that as well. So I want to start with a quote from John Maxwell. And please forgive me today, I am a little stuffed up. It is very cold here in North Carolina, so I think I've got a slight cold, but regardless, the quote from John Maxwell that I've got about peace is, if you don't have peace, it isn't because someone took it from you, you gave it away. You cannot always control what happens to you, but you can control what happens in you. And I love this quote so much because it's all going back to what we say time and time again, is that you can control your thoughts, your state of mind, your actions, your behaviors, all of that. It all happens in you. That's where it starts. So I feel like if we can start with peace, that's going to affect your lives so much, when it comes to everything else.
Yeah, I think that, there's always so many differences with peace because I think that peace is a relative term to where you're at in your life currently. Because we're not saying that, you can have fully peace or, have inner peace 24/7. But at the same time, you do have to control how much peace you do have in your life and how you can segregate that. Because I think that, there's always a question of how do you find peace in your life and where do you find peace? For me, I feel extreme peace when I'm near water. It's peaceful to me. I really enjoy it. I soak it in. It's good for me and my mental psyche. So I think that that's important, and I think, as I'm traveling around or I'm on a plane or anything like that, I know to find peace while I'm in the middle of a chaotic situation, such as like the airport. I find peace when I'm actually listening to like spa type music. It brings peace to me. It kind of drowns out the sound. It kind of brings some peace to me. I'm not in a rush as much, really not paying attention to a ton of the people around me. I'm just really kind of focused on what I'm trying to get accomplished at that moment. And I think that that's important because I think everybody needs to know that there is peace inside of a storm as well. If you're going through a storm right now, you can find peace in that storm. And whether that peace may be 5 minutes of you sitting down, listening to something positive or listening to some music or whatever it is for you, but you need to find that peace in the middle of that storm, because if you don't find that peace in the middle of that storm is going to seem like it's forever long. And it may not be that long of a storm, but you're making it twice as long because you're not finding any peace while you're going through it. And you have to find peace in whatever realm you're in at the moment. And I think that that's kind of the key to all of it, is that some of the most successful people in the world are able to focus in the middle of chaos. And that's because they're able to find peace in the middle of that chaos. And that's what makes them successful. While everybody else is bouncing off the walls, they're actually just getting extremely focused, and they're able to find their peace of where they're at and be able to really focus in and really be able to have success in the middle of chaos. And that's what kind of separates people in the ability to be successful and not successful. Because how do you actually perform under extreme pressure? And I think that is peace.
That's awesome. And I feel like a lot of the reason why people don't have peace in their lives is because they're making an excuse, and they're thinking that, they can't have peace. They're making excuses of why, I don't have time for that. Oh, I can't do this. I've got too much going on. And I feel like that's really just an excuse because we all have the time to do it. We all have the same amount of time in a day. And I know we've talked about this before, but I feel like we make it harder than it needs to be. And when a lot of people think about peace, I know that I used to, you picture like somebody on a mountaintop with their legs crossed, they're meditating. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. If you find peace that way, that's awesome. But I know we don't all have time to do that. And I feel like we make it such a hard picture of what peace is that we just give up altogether and don't even try. And I think that's a lot of the issue, is that we're kind of pushing it on the back burner, like, oh yeah, whatever. Maybe I'll get it when I go on vacation once a year, if all. And that's not okay. That's not going to be enough. That one trip to the beach or the mountains or wherever you go is not going to be enough to sustain you for the rest of the year. And I feel like that's also, what can cause a lot of people burnout, because they're not finding any peace in what they're going through currently, that they're just kind of running themselves dry. And I love that Matt gave examples of, what gives him peace. And a lot of those are the same for me. I really love water as well. I remember even when I was younger, there's a lake house in our family. And when we would go there, I would sit on the edge of the dock and just hang my feet in the water and just stare at the water for, it felt like hours. It was probably not that long, but I would just sit there and just watch the water. And it was just so peaceful and calming to me. And I loved it. And I know that's, something that really helps me to be around an environment like that. And now we also have a podcast about environment. And I feel like a lot of that goes hand in hand with this and bringing you peace, because if your environment is very chaotic and you can change part of that or all of it, then do so. I know, if you're going to a physical office for work or whatever, you probably can't change too much, but you can change your immediate environment. And I think that can make a big impact on the peace that you do or don't have. I know in an office that I used to work in, somebody would be blaring music that maybe I wasn't a fan of, or was very distracting. So I would put in my own headphones of maybe spa music or something else, or a positive podcast, worship music, anything like that, or even just tell that person, hey, can you turn it down? Like, it's really distracting for me. I think that even just those little changes are going to make a big difference. And I actually wrote a list here of other ways to bring peace. If you can't think of them off the top of your head, or think maybe you don't have time for any of these, and I would argue that you do, even if it is just a couple minutes, I think that you'll find that it's very rewarding. So I've written down, music, like we said, spa music, worship music, whatever, something positive. Positive podcast, reading the Bible. If you've got scriptures memorized about peace, I know there's a bunch of things about peace in the Bible, so you can definitely look that up and maybe write it down, put it at your desk or on your mirror, anything like that. Exercising, walking, maybe take your dog for a walk, go with your kids for a walk, go hiking. Breathing techniques, I feel like I've used that a lot. I feel like breathing techniques have helped me a lot, because just changing the way that you're breathing can calm your entire body down instantly. And Epsom salt baths, hiking, I said that, being in nature, turn off, step away from your phone, maybe leave it in another room. It's okay. It'll still be there when you get back, I promise. And then I've got environment and water, at the end of it, because that's a huge thing for Matt and I is just being by the water, and just, that soothing effect of just watching it makes a big difference in our lives. We just need to make time for it. It's another thing that is very important that we need to make time for. And if you don't make time for peace, you will be burnt out. And I feel like you will be very unhappy. And I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, but I'm just, being honest that I've done it. I've seen other people do it. It's so worth it. And it doesn't even take long. It's not something that has to be that hard. Now, obviously we can get peace from huge events in our lives and like vacations and stuff, like we said, but it is important to find that peace, if not, daily, at least weekly, so that you can keep going and you can be the best version of you.
Absolutely. And I think that one thing to add to all this too is that so many people have sought peace outside of themselves, but peace comes from within. And I think that I've made this mistake multiple times, that I thought, certain people bring me peace, or certain things bring me peace. And that's not necessarily true. You really need to find the peace within yourself. And I think that, part of that is loving yourself. And that's bringing yourself peace, because love is the purest form of a soul at peace. And when you know that you love yourself and you appreciate yourself, you have kind of the innermost peace that you can have. And then you can really seek out the environments and seek out the certain things that bring you peace on a daily basis. But I think that we're our own worst enemies. And I know I've covered this multiple times within our podcast, and we are self-destructive. And sometimes we're self-destructing our own peace and our own really self-worth. And that's a double-edged sword, obviously. But at the same time, there's a lot of value that you're going to bring to the table, and you have to know your true worth. And your true worth is really, it's insurmountable. I mean, you can't really put a price tag on your self-worth. And I think that when you respect yourself and respect who you are and really bring to the table of your full worth, I think that you'll find that you'll have more peace immediately in your life, but also you'll be able to find these environments where you can flourish in as well. And I think that that's the biggest crux of all of it, is really figuring out your true worth and understand that you are going to have to love yourself to be able to find the most peace in your life. And I know that's very difficult because I've struggled with this for many years. I think it shows in your everyday life when you really, truly do love yourself, then you can really give love to other people, but you can't really fill somebody else's cup when your cup is empty. And when you know that, then you can really kind of self-assess what you're really doing, because I know that really the most rewarding thing is giving back to others, but you can't give back to others what you do not have, and you can't teach something that you've never experienced either. So, and I think that that's two important facts to kind of lace into this. And I really feel like we're on a building phase as a society right now, and we're really having to focus on right now with God and with life and with the world in general. I think a lot of people in this time are asking God to move the mountain, and He's not going to move the mountain for you. You need to learn how to climb right now. This is a climbing season for everybody. And I know I've said this before, but this is a part of peace. With your inner peace, you're going to have to learn how to climb, and you're going to have to learn how to address certain situations. And that's going to come through a lot of self-assessment, and it's going to come through a lot of peace within your life. And when you can really do that, everything is going to change, and you can really find the peace that you want.
That's so good. I love that quote. And not just because of the quote itself, but because we actually need to take that action and not just sit and wait around for something to happen, but realize that we have the responsibility to make it happen. We need to do that. And another thing I wanted to add, I love that. And what you said there is that, it's what you do inside that matters. Like, that's what's going to bring you peace. Because with all the suggestions that I gave of ways to bring peace, the main part of that is that you're quieting your mind so that you can experience peace. Now, I know for some people, they might not agree with us on, being outside or whatever, that doesn't bring me any peace. But I feel like it's really getting your mind to be quiet enough to experience it. That is the main thing. So whatever that is for you, that's what, we would recommend to do. And, peace is a decision. It's a mindset and a decision. So it's to help you get to that point so you can make that choice, in your mind that you want to experience peace. Because like I said before, I feel like it is a choice. It's a choice to ignore it, to think it's just going to come magically. That's not the case. And I feel like that's not the case for a lot of things in life. It's not just going to happen for you. You have to make it happen. And a sermon that we listened to this morning was all about that God has already given you the talents and gifts and everything that He's going to reward you for. So use those. Like, He's already given you the tools. You have the tools to make your life amazing. So don't think like, oh, well, if I was only this or that, or had this, or was here or there, whatever. That's not the case. You have everything you need right now to be successful, to have hope, healing, and peace, and to really run with it. And I feel like a lot of us just sell ourselves short, and we're waiting for this time to come when we already have everything we need right now to make it happen.
Yeah. And I think with this too is really having the understanding of what you can do to create more peace in your life as well. And I think that's being selective of the battles that you choose to fight, because sometimes peace is better than being right. And I know that's tough. It's tough for me. I want to win. I want to win multiple fights in multiple areas. But understand, if you're having a disagreement with your boss, your spouse, your friend, whoever, sometimes it's better to let that battle go by and just be okay with not being right at that time. And I think that comes with wisdom. I think it comes with understanding of who you are. I think it comes with understanding of where you're at in that relationship. Because I think sometimes in certain relationships, especially with a boss or with a leader or with a spouse, sometimes that relationship isn't mature enough to handle that battle at that time. But you have to be able to communicate and be able to understand where that relationship's really at, because that has to do with peace as well. Because if you're constantly at an inner battle with yourself and you're constantly fighting with your thoughts, sometimes your thoughts will overtake that and you'll make a battle out of an emotional decision that you didn't mean. And then you're going to regret that because you chose to have that battle out of an emotional decision, not a logical one. So you have to really understand where you're at and really be able to address that at a certain time, because not all the battles are won up front. It's not going to happen that way. You have to be able to take some beatings along the way, unfortunately, to have more peace. And that's okay, because I would rather win a war than win a battle, and know that I chose to be mature in that situation and let my emotions run wild and make a bad decision that I'll never have peace with. Because sometimes swallowing your pride in the middle of that battle is better for you and better for your life and better for your peace and better all the way around, because you didn't act emotionally. Because I think that sometimes we wreck ourselves emotionally and then we never have peace because we're constantly dwelling on bad decisions that we made off of bad emotional decisions that we've made along the way.
It is so good. All of that. Amazing, Mr. Crick. I want to add a quote to that I feel like goes perfectly. This was from one of my friends posted this, and it says, "Stop being afraid of what could go wrong and start being excited about what could go right." Again, this is mindset. This is all mindset. And I know a lot of our podcasts are about mindset because I feel like thinking is some of the hardest work you'll ever do. And if we can have the proper mindset, that is what's going to help us to be the person that we want to be in life. And this quote actually really helped me this week, just thinking like, why am I worried about what can go wrong? I need to be focused on what could go right. What if everything that I was worried about flipped and it all went amazing instead? Think about that. And I did. I started thinking about things that way. And it was such a change. I noticed even just a change in my body, like immediately, by thinking of the positive and, not thinking about anything that could go wrong. I think we've said this before too, that most of the things that we worry about and that we're anxious about or whatever actually don't come to pass. So you're really wasting a lot of time because you're just stressing yourself out really for no reason. And I know I've been there, and that's why I'm on here saying this right now, is because it is a waste of time. And that time could be better spent maybe thinking about what can go right and focusing on the future and just being more positive overall.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great quote. And I think that so many times we are focused on all of the bad things instead of what could be going right. And that's tough to say with certain things going on in the world. And I totally understand that. But sometimes we're so focused on what's happening outside of our house that we're not focused on what's happening inside of our house. And we can only control what we can control. Unfortunately, we can't control a high-level CEO, executive, president, whatever. We can't control their actions or their decisions. However, we can control our attitudes and our actions every day. And that's really what makes the difference. And sometimes we need to get excited about the small things that we learn every day and the small things that we're doing in our life. Whether you're saving $5 a day or you're saving $5,000 a day, whether you're investing in yourself $5 a week or $500 a week. If you're going to certain events or anything like that are growing you, think about where you'll be at by growing you and growing who you are every day, rather than what's going on in some distant land or some boardroom that you can't control because you're not a part of that world yet. And we kind of reviewed this last week, and I think a few weeks ago as well, is that sometimes we're waiting around for somebody to make us a manager. They're waiting around for somebody to make us a CEO or COO or whatever, and we haven't grown to be that person yet, and we're getting mad that we're getting skipped over that opportunity. But however, we need to get excited about the next step that we've taken to be that person that we need to be, because we know that when that opportunity does arise, that we'll be ready for it, versus being kind of pissed off that we didn't get that opportunity. And that's okay, but we have to be excited about the little things that are going right in our life. Whether you kept your job last year, that's exciting because not a lot of people did. You got to keep your house last year, not a lot of people did. You got to keep your car last year, not a lot of people did. So be excited about the small things that we take for granted every day, and just start getting excited about who you are and where you're going, because sometimes the roadmap isn't going to look like what you thought it was. And that's okay. We just need to get excited about where we're at on the map and be able to locate where we're at on the map so we can proceed forward. So we'll be excited about the next journey.
That's awesome, babe. And in closing, I just want to let you guys know, we're not trying to be all kumbaya, peace is so easy to have, because it's not. We're not like that at all. And Matt's laughing because we know
that is a negative ghostwriter. That pattern is full and it is not always easy. And this is coming from 5 years of a journey to getting somewhat peace in our life.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just want you to know that it does take a lot of work. And that's the whole point. We know that if you're listening to this podcast, that you're willing to put in the work to make your life better. And just by making small changes, I know we say this probably almost every week, that if you make tiny little changes, it's going to change your life in a huge way. And by bringing peace into your life on a regular basis, you're going to notice such a huge difference. So if you guys like this message, please share it, subscribe, rate and review us. And until next time, own your life, because your life is your responsibility. Thank you all for listening. If this added value to you, please click subscribe and rate and review us. You can also find us at Own Your Life Co. on Instagram and Facebook, and ownyourlifeco.com. And as always, own your life, because your life is your responsibility.